Picture this. You're in a conversation with someone, and suddenly you find yourself questioning your own memory, your own judgment, even your own sanity. Or maybe you're facing an impossible choice where every option seems wrong, and you feel trapped with no good way out. What if I told you that these aren't accidents? What if these are carefully crafted psychological weapons used by people who understand exactly how your mind works and how to break it? Today, we're diving deep into the 3 most powerful dark psychology tactics that can control your mind. Tactics so subtle and effective that you might not even realize they're being used on you right now. But here's the thing. Once you understand how these work, you become almost immune to them. So let's pull back the curtain on the psychology of manipulation and give you the tools to protect yourself. The foundation of these tactics comes from what psychologists call the Dark Triad, 3 personality traits that, when combined, create individuals who are exceptionally skilled at psychological manipulation. Research published in the Journal of Personality shows that people high in these traits, psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism, don't just stumble into manipulation by accident. They systematically exploit specific vulnerabilities in human psychology. The first tactic is called gaslighting, and it's arguably the most insidious. Dr. Robin Stern, who literally wrote the book on gaslighting, describes it as a form of emotional abuse where the manipulator makes you question your own reality. Here's how it works. They'll deny things they clearly said, claim events happen differently than you remember, or insist your emotional reactions are crazy or oversensitive. The psychology behind this is terrifying in its simplicity. Your brain is constantly updating your understanding of reality based on social feedback. When someone consistently contradicts your memory or perception, especially someone you trust or depend on, your brain starts to doubt itself. Neurological research shows that this kind of persistent contradiction actually changes how your brain processes information, making you increasingly dependent on the manipulator's version of reality. The second tactic exploits what I call the one-rule principle. Every person has core principles, things they would never do, lines they would never cross. Maybe it's, I never lie to my family, or I always keep my word, or I don't hurt innocent people. Skilled manipulators identify these principles and use them as psychological levers. They'll create situations where following your principle seems to cause more harm than breaking it. They'll frame your moral strength as weakness, your consistency as stubbornness. Research from the University of Toronto shows that when people are forced to choose between their principles and immediate outcomes, the psychological stress can be overwhelming, and that stress makes you more susceptible to manipulation. The third tactic is perhaps the most sophisticated, the moral dilemma trap. This is where someone presents you with lose-lose situation designed to break down your moral framework entirely. They'll give you 2 options, both of which violate your values, and then sit back and watch as you try to choose the lesser evil. Studies in moral psychology show that these impossible choices don't just cause immediate distress, they fundamentally alter how you view yourself and your values. Each time you're forced to compromise, it becomes easier to compromise again. The manipulator isn't just controlling your current decision, they're reshaping your entire moral landscape. Now, before we go further, I need to address something important. Some researchers argue that labeling these behaviors as dark psychology or manipulation might be too simplistic. Dr. Kevin Dutton, a psychologist at Oxford, suggests that these same traits can sometimes serve positive functions. Psychopathic traits, for example, can help surgeons stay calm under pressure. Narcissistic confidence can inspire teams. Machiavellian strategic thinking can solve complex problems. There's also the question of intent. Not everyone who uses these tactics is a calculating manipulator. Sometimes people gaslight because they genuinely believe their version of events. Sometimes they create moral dilemmas because they're genuinely confused about the right choice. The line between manipulation and miscommunication isn't always clear. Some critics also point out that focusing too much on these dark tactics might make us overly suspicious of normal human behavior. After all, we all try to influence each other. We all sometimes remember things differently. We all sometimes present others with difficult choices. When does normal social influence become manipulation? But here's where the research becomes crystal clear about the difference. It's about pattern, persistence, and purpose. Legitimate influence seeks mutual benefit, or at least acknowledges the other person's autonomy. Manipulation seeks control at the expense of the target's well-being. Dr. Martha Stout, author of The Sociopath Next Door, explains that the key difference lies in empathy. When someone accidentally hurts you with their words or actions, they show genuine remorse when they realize the impact. When someone manipulates you, they either don't care about the harm they cause, or worse, they enjoy it. The pattern recognition is crucial. One instance of contradicting your memory might be a genuine disagreement, but consistently denying your experiences, especially when they benefit from your confusion, that's gaslighting. One difficult choice might be a genuine dilemma, but repeatedly putting you in lose-lose situations while they remain unaffected, that's manipulation. This is why understanding these tactics isn't about becoming paranoid. It's about becoming discerning. It's about recognizing patterns that harm your psychological well-being and learning to protect yourself. So, how do you defend yourself? Research shows that awareness is your first and strongest defense. When you know what gaslighting looks like, you're 70% less likely to fall for it. When you understand how moral dilemmas are constructed, you can step back and question the framework itself. For gaslighting specifically, keep a private journal. Document conversations and events in your own words. When someone tells you something didn't happen, you have your own record to reference. Trust your gut feelings. If something feels wrong, it probably is, even if you can't immediately articulate why. For principal exploitation, identify your core values in advance. Write them down. When someone challenges these values, take time to think. Ask yourself, is this person trying to help me make a better decision, or are they trying to make me doubt myself? A genuine advisor will respect your values even when offering different perspectives. For moral dilemmas, remember that you can often reject the premise. If someone gives you two terrible options, ask, what if we tried a third option? Or what if we address the underlying problem instead? Real dilemmas exist, but many impossible choices are artificially constructed. This raises some profound questions about human nature and society. If these manipulation tactics are so effective, what does that say about how our minds work? Are we fundamentally vulnerable to deception, or have we just not evolved defenses against modern psychological manipulation? And here's an even deeper question. In a world where understanding these tactics makes you more resistant to them, who benefits from keeping this knowledge hidden? Why isn't psychological self-defense taught in schools alongside physical self-defense? Perhaps most importantly, how do we balance protecting ourselves from manipulation with remaining open to legitimate influence and genuine connection? How do we stay emotionally available without becoming emotionally vulnerable to exploitation? Here's something that struck me while researching this topic. The most effective manipulation tactics work by isolating you from your own inner wisdom. They make you doubt your perceptions, question your values, and feel trapped by false choices. But here's the beautiful irony. The very fact that you're here, learning about these tactics, proves that your inner wisdom is stronger than any manipulator's tricks. You sensed something was wrong, and you sought knowledge to protect yourself. That instinct, that drive to understand and defend your own mind is exactly what makes you unmanipulatable. The manipulator's greatest fear isn't your anger or your resistance, it's your awareness. And now you have it. Knowledge is power, but shared knowledge is protection for everyone. If this video helped you recognize patterns in your own life, consider sharing it with someone who might need to see it. And remember, if you're currently in a situation where someone is using these tactics against you, you're not alone,
And it's not your fault. There are resources and people who can help. What manipulation tactic were you most surprised to learn about? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's build a community of awareness and mutual protection. Don't forget to subscribe for more psychology insights that put the power back in your hands.